everybody, I'm Meg from LovenStamps and you're watching Maker Mornings with Meg. I have a project to share with you today. I'm actually going to show two versions of it. We are going to do some color blocking today, which is a fabulous technique you will find super handy with lots of different things. But the stamp set that just makes color blocking super simple is Watercolor Shapes. So talk about stamp sets that are underappreciated. This is one of the big ones. So it's kind of a staple stamp set. There are a lot of different things that you can do with this to create backgrounds for little visual elements. You can, create color blocks like we're gonna do today. Kind of a retro feel of a technique. So I think you guys are really gonna like this. And to go with Watercolor Shapes, I'm gonna pair it with two stamp sets that are available as part of the September 15, that's today, 15% stamp sale. So if you are seeing any of these and you're like, ooh, I would like to do that technique, the links are in the video description, so you can go ahead and get those. But we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna use Butterfly Brilliance for one card, just like poking out here. And we're gonna use Bouquet of Thanks for the other card. So these two are terrific with this technique. They are big detailed elements. They give a lot of texture in their stamping, and we are going to heat emboss both of them for some extra sort of oomph. I'm gonna show you a non-heat emboss version. I think you're not gonna like it as much as the heat embossing. And then we're gonna bring in Lovely Layers Vellum, which I featured last month actually with a whole bunch of projects when we were doing the, where's one of those projects? Well, here's one that doesn't have the vellum on it. Let's see. Well, actually, here's a project. This is one of our Lovely Layers Vellum projects from a Maker Mornings with Meg recently. But we're gonna use it again today because it's part of the September weekly deals for this week that just started today. So, all right, are you guys ready for some stamping? Hello to Janice and Kim and Jennifer and Sue and Roxanne and Bonnie and everyone, Brenda, everybody who's on there. So I'm glad you have good weather, Kim. Yeah, we have kind of beautiful weather today too. I love jeans and a sweater weather. That is my total jam. So I don't know about you guys. So let's go ahead and flip our camera down here. And sorry for the element. We have a super, very inky project today. So we're gonna go ahead and use, we're gonna go back to our grid paper here, which we haven't used for a little while because I'm kind of liking those white backgrounds, but the grid paper is gonna be crucial here. So let's go ahead and do this. All right, so like I said, we're gonna use the Watercolor Shapes stamp set to make our backgrounds. And this is gonna give us a really excellent base to do these feature kind of stamps. So when you have a stamp set like Bouquet of Stamps, or Bouquet of Thanks, which is a single set, a lot of times you want something that will just feature it without taking away from the design. So we're gonna go ahead and create a color blocked background. So I have a piece of basic white cardstock, and I'm starting with the color palette of Blackberry Bliss and Cherry Cobbler. And for a little extra interest, we're gonna add the Mango Melody. It's kind of nice to have that little pop of color. And we're gonna go ahead and start putting some color blocks here together. Now, this is a photopolymer stamp set. So you can see these, they're the photopolymer stamps that don't have the foam background. And when you have something that's big and flat like this, I find that I get my best stamping when I put one of my mats underneath, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and bring this in here. This is the paper piercing mat. And one of the nice things about the paper piercing mat is that it adds that foam layer so that you get really good contact between your stamps and your paper, okay? And then, because I don't want to stamp all over this, I'm just gonna bring in a little piece here of paper to cover that. All right, so we have this set, and let's go ahead and start doing some stamping on here. So I like to start with my largest images first when I do this. So I've got my Cherry Cobbler and inky fingers already, so let's go ahead and clean that off. I love my Stampin' Scrub, just makes for a great sort of ink magnet, just picks that right up. And so we're gonna go ahead and stamp here with our big block. And I'm gonna take just the right angle shapes from this. I'm actually gonna use 3 of them. The circles and the ovals are excellent. You could do this technique with the circles and ovals also. You could even mix them. I just like sort of the square look of this one. And rather than stamping in full strength, oops, there's a little piece of cardstock on there. Rather than get my fingers inky, a lot of times I'll just take my snips and get that out of the way. All right, let's try that again. Rather than get my stamps on here full strength, I'm gonna go ahead and stamp in the background once so that I get a little bit lighter color, and I'll show you what it is to do the full strength version too, but I'm gonna give this a stamp off first. All right, so I'm just sort of doing right angles, adding some color. Let's pull in now our Blackberry Bliss. These are extremely saturated dark colors. So when you're doing something like this, you're gonna wanna think about how you're gonna kind of soften them if you need to, so that you're not overwhelming your image. So they're beautiful colors, but definitely pretty heavy. So, all right, and I'm trying to make sure that none of my vertical or horizontal lines line up exactly. I'm staggering things so that I get some variety. We don't want the eye to stop on any one element. We want it to kind of continue around. And if we have too many things lined up, that's gonna create a stop point where like everybody's like looks right there. So it creates a focal point. And this is our background, not our focal point. So, all right, I've got my Mango Melody now, and this is where I'm gonna add in just that little pop of color and add, let's see, I'll do a vertical here. I might do this one full strength because it is a little bit lighter, meaning like I need to re-ink it, so. All right, there's that. And I feel like we need to, oh, we got a little bit up here to cover, so we're covering our whole background. And I'm gonna go ahead and pop one there to just move stuff around. Okay, so isn't that actually gorgeous? So you could use this just as a standalone background. You could put, just grab like a little strip of basic white cardstock, put a little label across here, add a greeting, add some kind of embellishment and be done, right? So again, Watercolor Shapes. And since this is part of the September stamp sale, so it's 15% off of all of the stamps except for hostess stamps, all of the stamps in the annual catalog. So this is a great time to add this staple to your toolbox. If you don't have it, you're gonna want it. The other thing you can do with this stamp set is stamp like just a square, like right in the middle of your cardstock, and then stamp an element, a flower or something like that on there, just for a really simple, beautiful, elegant card. This is a basic tool stamp set. So I talk about basic tool dies a lot, but this is a basic tool stamp set. All right, now let's flip this over so you can see a little bit better. I have one that's stamped a little bit darker. So this is the one that's stamped full strength. And you can see it's also very, very pretty, just a little bit different effect there. So we're gonna bring our watercolor shapes back in here in a little bit, so I won't put them too far away. But now we want to add in our bouquet of thanks. And so I have that stamp mounted here. And when I stamped this in black and stamped it on our paper, I'm gonna show you what that looks like. It looks like this. And I feel like this is very difficult to see. There's not, it's not terrible, but it's not great either. We can definitely do better. So I wanna make sure that this image with all of these beautiful details shows up really well. So instead of stamping it on in black, we are going to bring in a piece of the Lovely Layers Vellum. And I just realized I didn't trim this down yet. The piece of basic white that we stamped on to begin with, and the piece of vellum that we're using are 3.5 by 4 3/4. Okay, so I'm going to bring in our vellum here, and I am going to stamp in a Versamark. So, woohoo! Now, if you're looking for my nasty Versamark pad, I'm about to retire it. It's gotten too many things spilled in it over the years, so. Surprise, I do own a nice one. Okay, so I'm gonna flip this and ink it from the back, which I find with a soft pad like this, just works really well to make sure I've got the whole image inked nicely. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp this here on our paper. And on vellum, it's a little tricky. You know what? I'm gonna take away my mat there because it's a little easier to see on the black contrast to see if I'm getting even vaguely straight. Now, I just realized I still have my mat on here. This is a little bit dangerous in stamping because I have double foam, foam under and foam above. So you wanna be careful not to press too hard on here. So, morning, Jenny. Hi, Janice. All right, so it looks like I've gotten okay. Now, Versamark is a clear sticky ink. You can use it to stamp on colored cardstock and get a cool texture watermark kind of effect, which is why it's called a watermark ink pad. But you can also use it, close your ink pad. Otherwise, this is what happens. Close your ink pad because the next thing you're gonna do is dump some vellum or dump some embossing powder on there. This is the new embossing tray that comes in a set. It actually comes in a big like storagey tin like this with a an embossing buddy, which is a really great tool. I didn't use it for this because I know that my vellum's pretty clean right now and we don't have a lot of humidity, but that embossing buddy is crucial for some kinds of techniques. So. All right, I'm gonna take my embossing powder here and dump it over the top. You never need to worry that you're wasting it by dumping too much because it's just gonna go back in the container and you actually use very little. So this is gonna last a long time. And if you don't have the fancy container, you can of course just use a piece of paper. I really find this to be handy though, especially if I'm making multiple cards, because then I would just scoop this up and use it again. I'll show you when we get to the butterfly version, okay? Now, if I had any stray powder or stamping, or I'd over-stamped and caught an edge, you can use the brush that's included in this kit to pull that away. It's a really nice, it's the perfect combination of stiff so you can get the powder off, but not so stiff that it doesn't like give with the paper. So very handy. Okay, so I'm gonna set that aside and we are going to do our heat embossing now. So if you've never heat embossed before, it is such an amazing technique. It's very simple. You just want to kind of pay attention to what you're doing and you'll have no problems. So there is a really, whoa, like that, not paying attention. There is this fun reverse tweezer here in the kit, and I'm gonna go ahead and not do this on my mat. So if I did this, I would melt my mat. I like to avoid embossing directly on a Formica countertop, like the fancy one I have here in my studio, AKA not fancy. You can actually, if you do it too much on a piece of Formica countertop, you can actually melt the glue under the Formica and you can delaminate the Formica from the countertop. So don't heat directly on there. Catalog makes an absolutely fabulous pad for making sure you've got good. And this is kind of like a hair dryer. You test it to see if it's hot yet. It heats really quickly and hopefully the camera is doing a decent job of filtering out. When I heat emboss, I always point and I am deliberate. I'm not doing this like woo, moving all over the place thing. There's really not a lot of point to that. You want to focus your heat so that you can get your embossing over and done with. And as I move around, I'm watching to make sure that my powder is melting 100%. The trickiest thing about heat embossing is missing little bits that aren't fully heated. And those are gonna appear matte. They're gonna appear to be kind of powdery looking when you look at the surface of your embossing. There's a little spot right there in the middle. Okay, there we go. When you are looking at your finished heat embossing, it should be uniformly shiny, and you should, if you give it 2 seconds to cool, you should be able to run your hand across that. If you feel any places where your hand tries to stick to that, then that's a place, do it real gently, that's a place where you're gonna wanna go back and heat again so that you don't lose any of your powder, okay? So now we have this beautiful detailed heat embossed image, all right, which I'm super impressed with. Stampin' Up! Has really high quality embossing powders so that you can get this kind of detail out of your embossing. All right, so we're gonna layer this here on our color block background. So you can try both directions, see where your color block happens to highlight best. I kind of like this one. I like this because it's the yellow and the bright is drawing us towards our thank you down here. When I had it this way, Do you see how that yellow draws your eye up here? There is nothing going on here. That's really kind of pointless, okay? So when in doubt, look at where your eye is being drawn and then use that. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and stick this down. Now, as you know, when you work with vellum, you have to plan your adhesive because your adhesive is going to show through. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is be kind of organic about this. I'm going to run a glue line behind our stems. I'm going to color in behind some of the dark spots of our flowers, a few dots out here. And this is going to allow us to hide our glue so that we have a nice bond between our elements here. I'm gonna go like up the center of the stems of the leaves, and then let's see, got this one down here too. Okay, so see how we've added some glue there? I want to get a nice covering because the embossing can tend to warp the cardstock or the paper just a little bit. And I'm going to set this down on here, and then I'm going to come back with my block and stick it down so that it just has a chance to really settle on there. Okay, Marcy says, does embossing powder ever go bad? I can't imagine why it would. I have embossing powder on hand that I've probably had for 15 or 20 years. So it is pretty good. I mean, it's fine still. The only thing I would say is sometimes the embossing powder, because you're going to dump it back in your tray, from your tray or your paper into your container, sometimes it can pick up a little junk from whatever's left in your tray. So between like my black and like if I was gonna do clear or white next, I would be really diligent, maybe even soap and water, make sure that I clean this because I don't want little tiny flecks of black to get mixed into my, powder of my clear or white. So that would be one way that it could go bad. But really, it's just a powdered, plasticky kind of stuff. So there's 3 steps to embossing. You stamp with your sticky ink, you dump the powder on, tap off the extra, and then you melt the powder. That's pretty much it. So yeah, good question. Oh, happy pre-Friday, Kelly. I couldn't remember. You called it something fun last week and I forgot. So thanks for reminding me. And Doris said that she wished the stamp had a blank spot in the center so you could put different sentiments on it. That is a really good thought. I like that too. So I don't know if you remember, there was a book stamp that we had where I actually took an X-Acto knife and I cut out the words from that stamp so that you could have a blank in the middle, okay? So you could do that. The other thing that you could do is you could stamp, you could like put you could fill in something else by layering over this. You could actually just put a strip of cardstock across here like that, just a big one, and cover it up so you could put any greeting that you want on there. Yeah, I love thinking flexible with stamp sets, Doris. That's a really great point. So thank you for suggesting that. Okay, we got this all nice and attached now. So we have our pretty background there. So let's go ahead and look at how we're going to, we might as well stick this down, and then we're gonna look at how we can embellish this. So our flavor for this stamp is very fall based, and we've been seeing monarch butterflies around here. I don't know if you guys have them, but we have a whole bunch of monarchs right now here in central Illinois. So I've been kind of enjoying that kind of color palette, and so our card is kind of inspired there by those pretty butterflies, and that makes me sort of feel like we have sort of a natural feel to our whole card. So let's go ahead and stick with that natural feel for our embellishments. So rather than like super blingy rhinestones, I know, sorry for those of you who are loving the super blingy, usually I'm all about it. For our embellishments, we're gonna go with something sort of on the natural fibers spectrum. And to do that, I have a roll of the Naturals ribbon. So this is Natural Finish ribbon is what it's called. And it is part of the Abigail Rose suite, and it's super duper soft. Like, look at how squishy and beautiful it is. And you can stamp on it even. We're not gonna stamp on it, but we're gonna use it for its beautiful fiber idea, fiber feeling. So I'm gonna go ahead and not cut it yet. Actually, here I have a little fragment cut. I'm going to take a piece of linen thread. Now, if your linen thread, I can't remember, I think it comes on a roll like this right now. It's such a staple, I always have it on hand. If it's all curly like this, here is the trick for decurling it. All you have to do is put your thumbnail against your finger and just gently run along it, and it will straighten out those fibers so that you have a much straighter piece of linen thread. See how that works? That versus that. So never fear if your linen thread is all, curly cued up, that you need to worry about that. You can always use that technique to stretch it. So we're gonna make a little embellishment here. I'm gonna go ahead and take this little piece of linen thread and I'm gonna tie, there we go, towards the end here. I'm gonna kind of work that around so that it looks nice. And then I'm gonna tie a bow. Now, this bow could go one way or the other. It's 50-50, either it'll work or it won't. And I'm gonna tell you, if it doesn't work, it's super easy to fix. And if it does work, woohoo, we guessed right. So I just tied that crossover to tie a bow, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and make my loop and run it around just like I always do. And I want the bow to lie in line with the ribbon. Does it? Or, oh, it does. Okay, perfect. See how it lies in line with the ribbon? Now, if it didn't, okay, say it didn't, then instead of tying my bow this way, I would flip and tie my bow this way, like with the other hand first. So just know that you just have to flip it 180 degrees and retie if your bow is at the wrong direction. Oh, see, so that is the wrong direction. Okay, so I did it this way that time, so I'm gonna flip it this way and tie my bow. And it is going to lie in line with my ribbon. So basically you get like a 90-degree bow difference, okay? All right, so let's go ahead, shorten your bow ends always to make things look like they're in the right scale for your project. And if you hold the ribbon on both sides, you will get a much nicer cut. I meant to do it the other way, but that's okay. A much nicer cut to go with that, okay? So here we have our element, and we're gonna pop this kind of down here. I thought, so originally I was thinking that I would like tie a bow. Here, I'll just go ahead and show you. I was gonna tie a bow and put a bow on here with this ribbon, but this ribbon is, it's just giant. So if this was a present or something, it would have a really nice big presence. But for something like this, it's just too big. So this little element here is a great way to have the fiber and the element of it without actually a giant bow. Then I'm gonna take one of these fun textural elements. They just come together. They're very, very soft wood laser cuts. They're gorgeous. And we're gonna pop this under here just like that for our fun accent, okay? All right, so let's pull this. Good morning in Michigan, Maxine. I'm gonna pull this up and I'm going to put dots of multi-purpose liquid glue on the back. Remember, if you can see it, it's enough. You don't need a ton. And then I'm gonna set this down here so that it doesn't obscure. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach my bow element with my multi-purpose liquid glue too. So I'm gonna pop it right there in the back like that, a good amount, because some of it's gonna sink in with, just absorb through the fabric. And then I'm gonna put something heavy on there to say, hey, stay. All right, so we've got our bow, which you can't see, and it's pretty well set. But now we have the inside of our card, which we still need to make. And I want to reuse some of these same elements. So, I might need to switch out my heavy block here. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we are going to stamp this image in black because it is absolutely beautiful in black too. It just wasn't able to stand on its own on top of our busy background. Okay, so let's take this and flip it over, and I'm just gonna stamp down here at the bottom. One of my favorite ways to accent the inside of a card is to repeat an element from the front, but have it on the edge. And then, of course, we need to go ahead and do our color blocking here. So I feel like that got a weird, see what I mean about that image being kind of partial? You're really better off to put the matte behind, but we're gonna kind of not worry about it because There we go. This is a sort of quick and dirty. And then I really want to echo that mango from the front. So I'm gonna take this and pop some mango on here like that, okay? So there is gonna be the inside of our card, all right? So we can go ahead and stick that in here. I think this is probably good enough for the moment. And then we need some kind of like blingy-ish thing. So I wanna go rustic and natural look. I don't want to go like bright and rhinestoney look. This is like natural beauty elegance rather than like Las Vegas glitz elegance. And so I brought in the rustic metallic adhesive back dots. So here's a little bit of those. And let's go ahead and pop some of these on here. So I want to emphasize our focal point, so which is this thank you and this pretty like bow element. So I'm gonna pop some, oh, I should get my take your pick tool out. I'm gonna emphasize this element right here and kind of keep these pretty close there to my element there. So I could maybe do, oh, what the heck. We'll put a couple more on. So maybe one up here and then maybe one down here. No, I don't like that. I like it over here. It's gonna be a little hidden, but that's okay. Okay, there we go. So now they're kind of like in a scatter that really emphasizes this part of our focal point. Remember how we put this gold down there and not up here? So this really helps to focus things in this area so that we have a nice focal point for our card. All right, oh good. Sue, our bling connoisseur, says she loves the rustic dots. All right, so they're acceptable. Okay. So then the inside of our card is here. So you guys want to see the version with the butterflies. So this is Butterfly Brilliance, which is an absolutely gorgeous stamp. I also think that this is kind of one of the staples of my Stampin' Up! Toolbox. I pull it out over and over again, and there is a whole series of video tutorials on this stamp and how to use it in different ways on my website at LovenStamps.com. So you can go there and look on their blog. There's a little search tool. If you pull up a blog post, there's a search tool on the sidebar. And if you type Butterfly Brilliance, you'll get this video series. And I adore it. So this one, I would go ahead and do exactly the same technique, the background, the black embossing on top, even the same element here with our little branch. And then this is the finished card for that one here, okay? So again, very, very similar look to it, but we sort of have that organic, natural look and sort of that organic, natural embellishment. I didn't put a greeting on the front. You could put a little strip on there easily, but kind of nice to just have a pretty note card that doesn't really require a greeting on the front. So now if you were gonna mail these, the natural textural elements are they're a little bit fragile. So I would go ahead and I would put a piece of like tag board or something on top of your card and then put the envelope in. And you'll definitely have to pay the extra ounce, the overage for having like a bumpy item in your card. So you can just get those stamps on a separate sheet and have them on hand to add to your projects. The last time I got them, they were all rabbits. So I kind of like that one. All right. One other thing to note, when you are messing around now with putting your powder back in the container, so you, like I said, you don't have to worry about wasting your powder. You're going to unscrew this and tip it up, and you're just going to brush it all down into, I can actually brush it all down into there now, even though I'm not ready to put it in the container. What my recommendation is for this is to not have your ink pads open when you're messing around with the powder, okay? You just don't want to get stray powder. This stuff has a tendency to stray, and you don't want to get spare powder in your ink pads, okay? The other thing to keep on hand is this is like a Swiffer, for a Swiffer dust moppy thing. It picks up stray powder like a dream. So you can see how I just like can run that around there, and then that is very nice and clean. So keep a box of those handy for your embossing, and you'll be thankful. All right, Let's see. Okay, Kim had a comment. She likes the suggestions. Oh, she has 2. Yeah? Okay, so when there's a stamp sale, that's when you get 2 of these. Kim says she actually owns 2 of this image because she has one that she cut all the butterflies apart so that she can use the elements just as she wants them, and a second set that she's left like this. This does have a die set that goes with it. You can use it to cut out the butterflies, and it has a detailed overlay that matches all the butterflies. I love, love, love this. When it first came out, it was bundled. It's not bundled anymore. To get the bundled pricing where the dies and the stamps go together, you always have to get that when it comes out in the original catalog that it debuts in. And so the 15% thing is perfect right now because you can't get this bundled anymore anyway. So you're doing well. Another stamp set that I would highly recommend that you consider as part of the 15% is the limited edition set. So this one is the stamp that I get tons of questions on this. This is the stamp set that Stampin' Up! Has provided for the Angel policy. So see these little copyright Stampin' Ups here. It's on this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Well, it's on almost all of them actually. These are the images that you put on the back of your card. So like right here, limited edition, copyright, Stampin' Up. So the Angel policy is basically what Stampin' Up! Says are the rules for selling their images, because the artwork that's all created by Stampin' Up! Artists is all copyrighted to Stampin' Up! So when you sell something that's created with that artwork, then you are basically selling their copyrighted images. But they say, fine, we would love for you to sell cards that you've made, and you just to abide by the copyright have to put that little Angel policy image there on the back of your card, okay? So if you're, making cards for friends and stuff, it's really not a big deal. But if you had cards that you were selling in a shop somewhere, you would probably want to get one of these stamp sets so that you could add that copyright on the back and be in accordance with the Angel policy. If you have questions about Angel policy, let me know and I can drop you a link with more details. That I think kind of covers us. All of the stamp sets that are in the annual catalog. Oh, sorry, I put my hair up really fast and it looks really scary. All of the stamp sets that are, I'm not sure that's any better, but all the stamp sets that are in the annual catalog, this one right here, are included in the sale except for hostess sets. The link is in the video description, so you'll want to get those. It is a 24-hour sale and we're already it's 10 o'clock. We're already 8 or 10 hours into it. So you'll want to go and get those shopped for, all of your favorites. And I hope that the stamps that we've shown you today, Watercolor Shapes, which is a staple, and then Bouquet of Thanks and Butterfly Brilliance, I hope that you found some cool ideas for those that you would enjoy making. And as Kelly says, it is pre-Friday, so I will be back next Tuesday for another Maker Mornings with Meg. Don't forget to check out the September weekly deals that started today, including the vellum, the Lovely Layers Vellum. And I hope that you guys have fun plans for your weekend. We have a lot of fun things going on here. All the band and soccer and all the fun adventures to go on, right? So have a great day. Again, links are in the video description for all of the supplies that I've used. And if you have any questions, I am here. Drop me an email, send me a message through Messenger or something like that. I'm happy to help you. So happy stamping, everyone. Thanks for watching today.